Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Inuit Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. I'd like to introduce the panel and the secretary, as well as the assessor this afternoon. Via Zoom, we have Carrie Linklater, Bill Merzicki, and representing the administrative personnel this afternoon is Phoebe Braywood, and the assessor is Ryan Valderrama. I am the chairman this afternoon. My name is Mike Trugoyle. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along the City of Winnipeg's Border Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing is concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing application for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which the revision is requested has been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision with respect to application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to application of exemptions or taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decisions by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 3 and 4 today on the docket. Ms. Graywood, would you affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony, please?
Mr. Valderrama, please state your full name.
Ryan Valderrama.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, please state your full name.
Rocky Neufeld.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Valderrama, we have first property at 450 River Road.
Oh, sorry, before we start, Mr. Chairman, I have to ask this question just on a point of order, and I know that you were previously associated with the assessment department. I don't recall you ever being involved in the personal care home side. I just want to confirm that is the case.
I have never done anything in the personal care.
Oh, okay, because this goes back to 2016, and at that time you were still in the department. I just there's a long history here, so thank you very much. I am happy with your response. Move on. You can carry on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Valderrama. Can we hear your brief today, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. The first one has a file number of 24-3671. The property has a roll number of 08005390500. It is located at 450 River Road. We're dealing with the roll year of 2025, using reference date of April 1st, 2023. There are 3 split assessments on this property. The first one has a value of $73,000 with the classification of institutional and a liability of exempt. The second assessment has an assessed value of $7,066,000 with a classification of institutional property and a liability of taxable school exempt. And the last assessment has an assessed value of $2,910,000 with a classification of an institutional property with a liability of taxable. The property is a nursing home with 1 to 3 stories with 2 sections. The effective years built is between 1980 to 2007. It has a construction class of concrete frame, an average wall height between 9 to 10 feet, and it has a zoning of RMFS or multi-family zoning. It has a land area of 224,000 square feet, a planned area of 49,156 square feet, a basement area of 6,656 square feet, and a gross floor area of 86,563 square feet. Moving to the next page, Mr. Chair, is the photo of the subject property. It is an aerial photo. And on the next page is the cost valuation summary. For the total replacement cost new of the entire building, it is $5,825,819. And it has an accrued depreciation of $716,819. Overall, the depreciated cost of the building is $5,109,000. It also has a depreciated cost for detached structures, which is valued at $58,000, for a total depreciated cost of building and detached structures of about $5,167,000. The land value is $4,882,000, giving it a total value of $10,049,000. And on the next page is the cost summary by building sections. There are 2 sections as mentioned earlier. The first one was built in 1988. The second one was built in 2007. The 1988 one has an RCN or replacement cost new of $913,539 and an overall depreciation rate of about 30%. The second one, which was built in 2007, has a replacement cost new of about $4,912,000 rounded to the nearest thousands, and it has an overall depreciation rate of about 9%, giving an RCNLD or replacement cost new less depreciation of about $4,470,000. On the next page are some land sale comparables. These are all zoned as multi-family, which is similar to this subject property. And the first one is located in Meadowwood area with an address of 590 St. Anne's Road. The second one is located at 421 Beaver Hill. The third one located on St. Mary's Road. The fourth one is located in the area of Pegwis. And they all range from $15.80 per square foot up to $27.68 per square foot. And on the next page are some of the details of the detached structures, which has a total replacement cost less depreciation of about $58,000. That's on page 6, Mr. Chair. And on the same page 6 is the land valuation split. The first one has a class and liability of 4 of institutional taxable, and that's an area of about 133,516 square feet. It has a net rate of about $21.80 per square foot, giving it a total value of $2,910,000. Second one has a class and liability of institutional exempt, It has a net area of about 3,364 square feet, with the net rate per square foot of about $21.70, giving it a land value of $73,000. And the third land valuation has a class and liability of institutional taxable school exempt. It has a net area of 87,120 square feet. With the same net rate of $21.80, the land value is $1,899,000. Moving on to the next page is where the classification and liability allocation of the land and building. The building is entirely institutional taxable school exempt under the Municipal Assessment Act 23, Section 23, 1E. And the taxable one on the land side, or the fully exempt one, is fully exempt under the Municipal Assessment Act 22(1)(I). So the land and the building summary is in the bottom of page 7 as well. And moving on to the next page, page 8, is where the 2025 cost report for the subject property is. And that's my presentation, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Valderrama. Mr. Neufeld, do we have questions?
I think just two, maybe three. You just read about the exemption, and I'm looking at page 10.
10.
And I couldn't make out the section 22(1) if that was an L or an I. Do you have it stated anywhere else in the report?
Page 11, Mr. Chair, I have the excerpts of sections 22(1) and 23(1) from the Municipal Assessment Act.
Oh, okay, because and it's not my point is that the act is meant to be specific, and it's just lowercase I, but
an uppercase I, yeah.
Sorry. Uppercase above, and it's just inadvertent, I take it then? I just wanted to clarify that.
I think it's just the formatting of how the report was written by the computer, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And it's to clarify, it's 22(1)(I), which is by religious denomination.
Okay.
And it's occupied and used by the denomination.
Okay. The other question was on page 2. There's a picture of overhead, and those yellow markings are the boundary then that go all the way to the river.
Let me just go back to page 2. It's just too far. Page 2. Yes, that's the boundaries. Those are the boundaries, yes.
Given that there is a setback, I'm sorry, this is the Red River, is that correct? Or is it, yes, the Red, I think.
I believe so, but I'm not, I don't have that in my map identified, Mr. Chair, so I'm not 100% sure. It could be the Red River.
I would think it would be the Red River, so.
Yeah.
Based on its address.
And it's obviously has not been built on. Is that, the land, the river frontage has not been built on it? Is that?
No, yes, from the pictures.
Right, and the picture of the houses next door kind of show the limit of how close you can get to the river. Is that fair?
I'm not sure about how close you can get to the river. However, it's pretty, I think I can see in the picture that the vegetation on the land that's getting into the Red River.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the municipal bylaw, you are aware, requires a control zone 300 feet from the summer level of the river. Are you aware of that?
I don't have that information with regard to that matter, Mr. Chair, so I am not aware of that. No.
Well, in determining, under the act, you're allowed 2 acres of school exempt property for the personal care home, correct? And the rest is to be taxed at the other rate. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct as quoted on the Municipal Assessment Act, Section 23. Yes.
So I'm just wondering how the value for land that is not built on and clearly not underneath the building and impacted by planning bylaws and generally not buildable, how you can put the same rate per square foot as the parts that can be built on, and that would be shown on your page 6.
Page 6. Let me just go to my page 6 1 second.
You got 2180 and 2170 a square foot for all the lands, including the 40T, which is
The fully taxable one.
yes.
Yes. Overall, it's about 2070 and 28 rate. Yes, per square foot.
Right. And on that page, number 3 is, of course, the school exempt. That's the statutory school tax exemption for personal care home, correct?
Yes, that's correct. 2 acres.
And the 3,364 square feet is the fully exempt portion for the place of worship, I take it?
Attributed to the place of worship. That's correct.
And then 133,000 square feet is fully taxable and class 40T. Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to ask.
Okay,
Thank you.
so just so that we're clear, those are your questions regarding the assessor's presentation this afternoon, Mr. Neufeld?
That's correct.
Okay, so the burden of proof is still on you for liability and classification still, correct?
I believe burden of
Yes.
makes think no, this isn't a question of liability or class. This is a question
That has
of
been
value
appealed, has it not,
within
sir?
the class.
My
So,
apologies, but has that not been also appealed here today?
oh, it has, and we're not bringing anything forth to change the assessment. You'll note that there is now a small portion for the place of worship. And when we first filed this, we weren't aware that they had caught up finally with that.
Okay, so
I can't withdraw it, just rule there's no evidence on the class and liability, and we're only going to debate value.
fair enough. I just wanted to get that clarified so we don't go too far off the rails.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Linkletter, would you like to ask questions at this point of the assessor?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Mierzynski, would you like to ask questions at this point?
Moretsky. That's how you.
Boretsky, my apologies.
The land you have. Land valuation 73,000. That's on page 6 I'm looking at. That's cost liability 40E. Is that the place of worship land? Is that correct?
The area that's attributed to the place of worship, sir.
Okay. So on the next page, that place of worship, which is, do you look at the building in the middle, that chart there? If you look at the place of worship, which is number 2, there's nothing there. So why aren't you putting the building in there?
That's correct. It just wasn't picked up. I believe if there's something going on with the system when I produced this brief, Mr. Chair, and I apologize on that one. If it's just yeah, even the cost report doesn't reflect those numbers. I'm not sure why during that time when I downloaded the report it doesn't reflect the area. However, there is an area for a place of worship on this one, Mr. Chair.
But you didn't capture the cost of the building then in your assessment? Is that what you're saying?
Let me double check that one.
But you don't have it in the chart, so I guess not, right?
No, it didn't pick it up. No, sorry. Yeah.
How much of the building is part of that, Mr. Panzarella?
If I'm gonna base it on the percentage of land that's attributed, it's 1.5%. That's also the same percentage for the building areas in terms of the allocation of which one is attributed to, if I'm not mistaken on this one, Mr. Chair. It's just small area, Mr. Chair.
So it is 1.5% of the overall, is that what you're suggesting?
Believe so, but hang on one second. I'm just looking at if I have any more other areas in here. This one is, oh, there are two buildings. Foyer. No, it would be more, Mr. Chair, sorry, because there are just two building assessment for classification and liability. This one, it's just the 40S and the 40E. Unlike the land, there is also the 40T, which is the fully taxable one. That's over and above 2 acres of the statutory limit. So I cannot decipher that one as of the moment, Mr. Chair. However, it
Is
should
that
be
something
allocated in there.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's something that you, Mr. Neufeld, have yet to hammer out, I'm guessing?
Probably this is one of, I'm not sure, I can't speak for Mr. Neufeld, but I think this would be one of the issues that may be hammered out. Yes, that could have been hammered out as well.
So on page 2, then, if you look at the photo, the big building with the wings, that's the personal care home, correct?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair.
And the one with the peaked roof, that is the foyer Balade.
I believe so, Mr. Chair. Yes, correct.
And so where is that place of worship in this picture? Where is that?
I wasn't able to inspect the interior of this property, Mr. Chair, so I wouldn't be able to determine based on the aerial photo where it is located.
Okay. The basement, let's see, you got plan area of 49,156. So that's all the buildings, correct? In this property, totaling plan area of 49,156, correct?
That's correct.
But your basement is only 6,656. Why is that? There's not a full basement, or is it just some part basement somewhere? What's going on there?
It's partial basement.
In the personal care home?
Yes, it's so the entire buildings or both buildings do not have a full basement according to the building footprint. It's just pretty small based on the records that we have, Mr. Chair.
So both buildings have a partial basement, is what you meant to say.
I believe it's only the foyer Valad that's the basement, which did not populate as well, unfortunately, in the roof. Because it has a section says a basement in it.
It shows on page 4, I believe, that there's a basement under the foyer building, number 1.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was looking at the house report on page 8, Mr. Chair. Sorry. Yeah. Yep, it's the foyer. That's correct. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Chair.
Let's see your cost report here. Going to page 8 starts the cost report. This is the foyer Balade it's starting out with. And it's got elevators for 257,000 cost.
There are two counts, Mr. Chair.
What's that?
There are two counts.
Two elevators.
For elevators. Yes.
So, $128 or 28,000. Let's put, yeah, $128,000 or 129,000 times two for your elevators. What is this
That's
foundation adjustment? What is that?
Foundation adjustment, I believe, Mr. Chair, is the pilings.
What?
Pilings, sorry.
ABC filings.
Pilings, okay. Pilings.
Piles, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so where is the actual cost of that building in this work up here?
Sorry, the entire building, both buildings, or just the foyer,
Well,
or
this building is all you have is the elevator there, isn't it? That's all I can see.
that's correct. I believe it.
I find these cost reports that you guys have here very kind of muddled and confusing.
That's
You have
correct.
you have things in there that are in one building and then they're not in another building. Why is it all mixed up like that all the time? Can you answer that question?
I'm not sure. When I downloaded the report, it just sometimes populates. There are times that, seldom, which it happened this time. There are some that I wasn't that I overlooked, and I wasn't able to double check that there were anything with regard to the missing replacement cost of the build itself, Mr. Chair, and I apologize for that one. Another example would be the sections 1 and 2 are all zeros, which I'm not sure why it's not spelling out the correct numbers in there. So it could be that it was just a minor glitch in our system that happened during the time that I downloaded this report, Mr. Chair, and I apologize.
But I found these kind of inconsistencies when I reviewed this throughout all the properties. I saw these inconsistencies. So kind of, wonder how much trust we can have in them. What's your comment on that?
Well, with a lot of properties that are, and also information that's in the system, I mean, it's not a guarantee 100% perfect. I myself, I'm a user of technology, and I cannot guarantee the accuracy and also that the technology that I have in front of me would function 100% all the time. There could be some time that it's down, or for whatever reason I may have overlooked. In this case, there was something going on at that time when I downloaded the cost report, and for that matter, I'm still dependent on the system because we have a source called Marshall and Swift that are downloaded and inputted in all of our in our system when we base our cost estimates, and that's also producing, or that's the source where these reports are coming from. It just so happens that I'm thinking that there was just a glitch on this one, Mr. Chair, and again, I mean, my apologies, and
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
it's just one of those things.
All I have to do though is go to the next page, and I see another
Yes.
picture anomaly again. You have page 9. This care home, 39 beds, and then base cost, masonry bearing walls. That's all you have, 192. So that's the basic cost of the building. But then there's all this other stuff in the building, hot water, sprinklers, HVAC. It's not in there. But then in other parts, it is. So either every building has that stuff. So why don't you have it in every building?
In setting up the cost report, based on my experience when I was using the cost when I input a building, or when we put a building in our records for assessment purposes, choose one eminent occupancy, which is one building type. For example, in this case, 710 Retirement Community Complex, the rate that would come up, I believe, is for that building finished. If there are anything upgrades or downgrades, then we adjust for that. In this case, I do believe, Mr. Chair, that this is the cost for the building itself, the 710 building code
Okay,
that we used on the one.
okay. So you're saying basically that base cost there covers the whole building, but
Yes,
you
it's a
add
replacement
or
cost.
subtract things based on some special conditions in that building. Would that be fair explanation?
Yes,
I think
correct,
that's what I'm
Mr. Chair.
gathering from you,
Mhm.
right? So then you would put HVAC in there because it was upgraded in that particular building.
If it was upgraded or if it's not the one that's included in the
Okay.
package of 710 Retirement Community Complex building, then we typically add it in.
So this 192, that you would expect to see that for every care home you have. They're around about that number. Would that be fair to say?
Roughly, yes,
Roughly,
Mr. Chair.
we're not going to see one
Plus
that's
minus.
way different, are we?
I'm sorry.
We're not going to see one that's way different, are we?
It could be, there could be some variations. Of course, I mean, with differences in areas, perimeters, and all that, there could be some, some costs that could be different. Minor differences in the base cost per square foot. So I wouldn't, I can't say that it's going to be exactly 190 per square foot. Could plus minus depending. Same thing with land valuation. I mean, as the land goes bigger, economies of scale would dictate that the per square foot rate would be different from the ones that are smaller. So it could be that too. That explanation.
Uh, to a small degree, I would say.
Yes.
It's always per square foot here, or per meter, or whatever it is, right? So, okay, I think I beat that one pretty good. No further questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I think my questions have been asked and answered, quite honestly. I think at the end of the day, only one comment will be made, I think you need to bring a more complete costing to bear for the board for purpose of being able to discern exactly what's being assessed. That would be very helpful on a go forward basis. So that being said, Mr. Neufeld, you have a presentation at this point?
I only have rebuttal.
Okay. Verbal?
No, it was sent to the board 2 days ago.
All right. I am not seeing rebuttal at this point.
It is distributed via the applicant's request. I'm just sending it out here now.
Yeah, thank you. Just a moment as we get it sent through to all participants.
Oh, well, Mr. Chair, if I may, sorry. If I may add something, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I forgot to mention that I've also added the decision on the municipal board decision regarding one Falcon, which is what we are basing a lot of our methodologies in valuing or assessing nursing homes, Mr. Chair. That is entitled
Additional information. Oh, yeah,
additional
right.
information. Yes.
Yeah. So same
It's
thing we had.
mhm.
Yeah.
So I apologize. I forgot to mention that during my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And that will be applied also to the next one, to the next file that we have, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I still can't find the rebuttal here.
Try refreshing. It should be in the SharePoint folder. Under item 3.
I have it.
What item number or how
Item
far down the list?
Sorry, it'll be item 3, 243671, 450 River Road, applicant rebuttal.
I
Oh,
don't
there we
have
go.
it.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay.
thanks.
I still don't have it. I have refreshed.
It'll be.
While you
second-
all look for it, can I just excuse myself for a minute from the screen?
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, may I just for a quick break while
Probably a
the
good
files
idea at
are
this
being
point.
settled?
We'll
Yep.
take a 5-minute break until we get the documents sorted out. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Greenfield, I think now we all have the document in front of us. We can proceed with your rebuttal information, please.
Yes, thank you. I'm just sending something to the board. I'm just sending a notice of complete withdrawal of this case to the board.
You're withdrawing today then? Is that what you're doing, sir?
Pardon me?
You're withdrawing this appeal?
Yes, I believe I have the right to do that until the hearing is comes to an end on it, and I'm exercising that right now.
All right. Hasn't come yet, but when it does, we will move on from there, sir. Hasn't arrived yet, Mr. Bell.
Yeah, it's generally it's takes about 2-3 minutes, I guess, to send it.
Make sure you have each. So we have received the withdrawal of this.
All right. So if you've withdrawn the appeal, sir, then it is considered withdrawn.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. It does look like we are just missing the file number on here.
Oh, is it possible for you to put that in? I had the roll number, not the file number in my hand. I can resend. I just, is there a file number? Oh, yeah, top there.
Yeah.
That was,
Oh, we do have it as being withdrawn, so we can.
Yeah, if you could just send an email with the file number, and the attachment once more, that would be great.
sorry, with, what were you looking for? Just,
You could just resend the attachment, and then in the body of the email, if you wanted to put the file number there, or you.
oh,
can-
okay, okay.
Yeah, or-
I'll do that now so you have that in your records.
Perfect,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
very
much.
much. So meanwhile, Mr. Valderrama, I think what we will do, is we'll move on to your next, appeal. That's scheduled for this afternoon, and that being,
What is the file number, by the way? Sorry.
it's okay, it's, file number 24-3671, Mr. Neufeld.
Thanks. Okay.
No problem. And we are now looking at the next property then. 1265 Lee Boulevard.
Hmm.
Would you like to withdraw this one before we get too far into it?
No,
Just thought I'd ask.
I told you this is a bit of an unusual situation, and we're working on these as we go along, and we withdraw some, and the city changes some. So,
I appreciate the process, and I only asking just to see if in fact there may have been a change of heart on that particular issue, so.
well, you've been around almost as long, maybe as long as me, and you know what we used to get told by the chairpersons is, you guys work it out. We're just going to be spectators.
That's going back to the early days.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Valderrama, I'd like to hear from you regarding your submission this afternoon on 1265 Lee Boulevard, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next property has a file number of 24-3667. The property has a roll number of 03091451300. It is located at 1265 Lee Boulevard. We're dealing with the roll year of 2025 using reference date of April 1st, 2023. There are two assessments on this property, split assessments on this property. The first one has an assessed value of $10,171,000. It is classified as, it has a classification of institutional property with a liability of taxable school exempt. Second assessment has an assessed value of $3,054,000 with the same classification, institutional property with a liability of taxable. The property is a nursing home with single story and one section. It has an effective year built of 2011 with a construction class of wood or steel frame. The average wall height is about 9 feet. It has a zoning of multi-family, and it has a land area of 245,535 square feet, a planned area of 53,067 square feet, a basement area of 2,142 square feet, a total gross floor area of 55,209 square feet. Moving on to the next page is the aerial photo of the subject property. It is the one that's on top. And on the third page is the cost valuation summary. The replacement cost new of the building is $9,052,910. There's an accrued depreciation of $723,910. Overall, the depreciated cost of the building is $8,329,000. The depreciated cost of the detached structures come to $162,000. So the total depreciated cost for both the building and detached structures come up to, or total to, $8,491,000. The land value is valued at $4,734,000 with a total value of $13,225,000. On the next page is the cost summary of the building. It has a replacement cost new of $9,052,910 and an overall depreciation rate of about 8%, with a replacement cost new less depreciation of about $8,329,000. On the next page, page 5, are some land sale comparables. They are all multi-family zoned. I believe these are similar or the same land sale comparable as the previous file that we have mentioned. The first comparable sale is located at 590 St. Anne's Road. It was sold on September 20, 2018 for about $19.74 per square foot. The second one is located at 421 Beaver Hill Boulevard. It was sold on December 13, 2016 for about $15.38 per square foot. The third one is located on St. Mary's Road. It was sold on January 25, 2013 for about $15.18 per square foot. And the fourth sale is located in the Peguis area. It was sold on February 10, 2023 for about $27.68 per square foot. On the next page, here are the details for the detached structure, amounting to about $162,000. And on the bottom of it is the land valuation split. The first one has a class and liability of 40S, and it has a net area of about 87,120 square feet. It has a net rate of $19.28 per square foot, giving it a land value of $1,680,000. The second one has a class and liability of 40T, and it has a net area of 158,415 square feet, given or applying a net rate of $19.28 per square foot. The land value on that one is $3,054,000. On the next page is the class and liability allocation. For the building, the entire building is allocated to the institutional taxable school exempt under the Municipal Assessment Act, Section 23(1)(a). And on page 8, again, is the cost report for the sub property. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chair. Oh, before I forget, Mr. Chair, the additional information would also apply to this property, Mr. Chair. The additional information, which is the municipal board decision on 1 Falcon Ridge, Mr. Chair.
Okay, what is the relevance of that decision, sir?
It is the decision on relating to nursing homes. The 1 Falcon Ridge was the test case for nursing homes during that time that we were trying to deal with this back in a few years ago, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and as a result of that hearing and decision from the municipal board,
it's
have you come up with a different way of valuing the nursing homes from here out? Is that what we're seeing in front of us today, sir?
One of the factors in there that was mentioned was the change in building code, which we have applied on this one based on the cost report. It's a 710 code that we are now using for nursing home. Back then, it was a different building code, Mr. Chair.
Fair enough. And Mr. Neufeld, I'm guessing that you have an opportunity to have spoken to Mr. Valderrama regarding this particular property?
Yes, we did speak on it, and I just had 2 questions on this.
All right, well, let's have them now, sir, and
Okay,
we'll move forward, please. Thank you.
right. So you mentioned the 710 code. What the net effect of changing from the previous code to the 710 code? It was a lower cost to build, correct?
I didn't notice that detail, Mr. Chair, to be honest. However, it was just we followed the building code that was mentioned in the decision.
But the previous building code, just for the make it clear to the board, was called a Class A code, and the decline to the 710 was a Class B code, which was a lower building code under National Building Code. Would that not indicate cheaper building?
I am not aware of the codes per se, with regard to the National Building Code, Mr. Chair. So I apologize, I wouldn't be able to answer that.
No, that's fine. And just because I'm sure we're both in agreement on this, but probably the board's going to ask you this, so I'll ask instead. Is you've got the picture of it on page 2, a very unique design. Now, you haven't costed it this way, have you? You cost replacement cost, which we're in agreement on.
Replacement cost new, yes.
Right. We're not trying to
using the
reproduce this wonderful design. We're just replacing the utilities. That how valuation is done, essentially.
For assessment purposes, that's the methodology, the cost methodology we are applying on our cost properties, Mr. Chair, the replacement cost new methodology.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Neufeld. Mr. Marte, could we get, Steve, sorry, get your questions for the assessor on this one?
Sure. You have depreciation of 8% on this building. Where is that again? Maybe you can help me.
Oh, it's on page 4, sir. Is that the one? It's in my cost report as well, but page 4 would be the.
It's in a couple of places. You're right. Anyways, my question is: the building's already, as of the reference date, 12 years old. There's only 8% depreciation on it.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it is based on the age of the building, and the building code assigns the lifespan of the property or the building itself, Mr. Chair. So it's automatically calculated by the system based on that methodology, Mr. Chair. By applying 710 building code, it assigns a certain lifespan on that property, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and let me just check back here. Last building was old. Okay, so this one is only 12 years old. So this building code you were talking about, you're using different building code now because of what the MAA had determined in their ruling. Where have you put that building code in your presentation here that you used? The new code, where is that?
The new code based on the municipal board decision is on the cost report. It's on page 8, and it has an M&S occupancy. That's Marshall and Swift occupancy, meaning it's the building. It's all building codes.
Where is that? Sorry, well, page 8, MNS. I don't see MNS there.
M&S occupancy under commercial.
Okay.
Yeah.
710. Okay. What were you using before then?
For assessment purposes, in previous assessments, we were using convalescent hospitals. This one, I forgot the actual number of the building. Maybe
Okay.
Rocky might remember, but I forgot the number. But it's called convalescent hospital, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. I would like to go through the code cost report a bit more there, but I'm not going to because it's going to take up much time and it's not that important. Anyways, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Ms. Plater, do you have any questions for the assessor at this point?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think I have no questions either at this point. Mr. Newfeld, I know you don't have a brief for this. Do you have anything to add to this at this point?
The rebuttal information, which hopefully you have dug out now.
So it is the same as the previous, sir?
That's correct.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Mr. Newfeld.
Well, I'm going to start with the municipal board order, and so this was ended up being heard in 2022, some 6 years after we first filed it. And the idea behind it is we had met with the assessment department beforehand. With at that time it was Brian Dupuy and Ryan here. And we said, let's try a test case and see how this works out. And we weren't really binding anyone to it, but it was a chance to go through the issues. And on the page one of that order, you can see just the people we brought in. And just to point out who some of these people were, the fourth name is Ken Collinger. While he was the head of regional health at the time, he is also an architect. The next one was Ron Wilkes, who teaches Marshall and Swift, which was the building costing manual that was in debate. And then the last name on our list was Taylor Weeb, who's a project manager at Gateway Construction and who has built these personal care homes. So we looked at a variety of different ways, and just moving along to where the orders ended up, starting on page, there's the whole debate about depreciation with the assessor's point of view on I should have written all these down here. The assessor's depreciation. Sorry, I think it was in the final decision here. Yes, okay, sorry, I've got the right page now. Page 19 of the order. So this is how the board determined the depreciation on the building by sections. So if you look at, for example, the last line item, 2018, 2000 was the year built, 19 years old, which indicated 21% depreciation, and for 35.4% of the building. And then the newer section, 11 years old, indicating a 9% depreciation rate. Now, if you look at what I've submitted in the rebuttal information, there's a table. The heading on it says depreciation.
That's right. At the beginning, sir.
I know they changed the order of it, so possibly it's the Marshall and Swift depreciation schedule, and it is identical to what was submitted at that particular hearing. So if you trace down the two numbers I gave you, you'll find out that they align perfectly with this table under the 45-year lifespan. So this was submitted by the assessment department and accepted by the board, but the cost, which we're not going to get into, we don't have to get into, they had already adjusted the cost downwards for the change in the building code. The evidence was clear that they were building code A, and they had been downgraded in 2007 to building code B, which is a cheaper construction. Essentially, you used to have to build personal care homes to a hospital standard. Now they're built to an apartment standard. As simple as that. So what they did is they gave us a number. Now, Mr. Wilkes testified, said that if you're going to use Marshall and Swift for this type of property, use code 710. So the assessor did it and they listened. So today we don't have a problem with their cost. We know that they fit into the general idea. There actually was one property that we had brought forward that they hadn't followed through on, and we came to agreement on that. So we no longer have an issue with most of these properties on the original cost, because we have a maximum cost capped on this, and by them changing code to 710, believe it or not, that's an almost a permanent change that the assessment department did. And I congratulate them and thank them for it. Usually we come back every 2 years, and it's good for my business, but they enacted a permanent change. Now, what we are having a problem with, though, is depreciation. See, properties done in the cost approach don't increase with value over time. They depreciate. And sometimes the cost catches up with it, but generally over the long run, they depreciate at a greater rate than the cost to build is constructed. That's why we only are appealing the properties, the newer properties, because the older properties have been fully depreciated at 80%, and they're at the bottom of the scale. There's a test we used when we brought these in, which was the assessment per bed. And not coincidentally, the ones that were assessed at $20,000 to $50,000 per bed were over 45 years old. And the only ones that were assessed at a high rate per bed, our highest was 165,000 per bed, were newer construction. And so this was what we were dealing with here. But why I'm telling you all this is the older you get, the value drops. It doesn't increase with the cost approach. That's just a basic principle. And what's happened with the ones we brought in is they all increased in value. It makes no sense. They should be declining if you use the cost approach. And that's why we generally don't use the cost approach. So our commentary on it, what we did is looked at this depreciation schedule that the board had agreed to and ordered. Remember, not ordered on a specific class or grade, but on the already reduced grade. Now, getting into that, 710 is cheaper to build. Well, the life is actually shorter in the real world than a convalescent hospital. A hospital is usually made of cement block and steel reinforcement, whereas the 710 is wood framed, and it has a shorter life, not longer. So arguably we should be using a 40-year life expectancy, but we're living with what the board ordered. In my last page, these were the workups that we gave. I had sent to Ryan, and we only have the one of them that's left, and it's right at the top, 1265 Lee. And we're not disagreeing with the costs because they do conform, but the 8% depreciation, based on the board's methodology, it should be 10%, not 8%. And you can follow the table above and look at the reported life and the life expectancy. And the life expectancy thing is not linear, so the Appraisal Institute wouldn't use it. It's a sawtooth sort of thing where the property declines, and then it's anticipated that capital costs are inputted to improve the property and extend the remaining life. That's the assumption with Marshall and Swift. Regardless, that's their system. We're not debating it, but that's what the board ordered. So that's issue number one. It should be a higher rate of depreciation and it's just 2%. The next is the land. Now, in this order, on page, by the way, I should probably tell you how many times I got yelled at in this hearing. It was pretty funny. I was enjoying it. And there's lots of nasty things written about me in case you need to throw them back at me. But the point is, we got our position across, and that was what was important. My feelings were a little bit hurt, but I'm living with it. A couple nasty things in here. None of them are true, but that's what you get when you go to the board.
Mr. Neufeld, just if I may interrupt you for just a moment.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna kind of paraphrase at this point, but it appears that your position and the city's position differ by the percentage of the depreciation from 8 to 10%, is that?
That's point number one, and then I'm just looking for point number two with the land.
Okay,
And that's why I was trying to fill in the dead space while I was looking for it.
okay,
It would be, there we go, page 21, it begins.
Is this PDF page 21
Board order, page 21.
or 21?
So the pertinent point was page 22, actually. It is likely that a PCH motivated by affordability considerations rather than profitability considerations for development would gravitate toward the lower cost properties. The assessor's analysis may overstate the land value appropriate to the subject property. And what that means is when the assessor, as their model dictates, they will bring out land sales that were based on the profitability of building an apartment block on it usually. And PCH cannot be competitors to buy that land. They have to look for cheaper parcels. So the board acknowledged that point. And in this particular decision, they simply gravitated towards the lowest comparable that the assessor brought forward. And so when we look at, this is why this is a rebuttal information, we are looking at the assessor's page 5. And you'll note that the range of properties brought forward was 1518 to 2768. So the board is saying that PCH can't afford premium land. They're going to look for the cheaper, lower quality lands. And that is a factor in their value. And they said, go to the lowest rate. So we changed it. What the assessment rate had on it, which was going back to my summary on my workup on it, the rate they had, assessor had on it was 1979 a square foot. We changed it to 16, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one here, to 1518. Sorry, they were at 1928. We changed it to 1518 a square foot, which is their lowest comp. And so the net value is at sorry, I'm really messed this up here. The total value we are looking for is 12,037,002. And the breakdown on the class is the class school exempt would be at 9632262, and the class
sorry, Mr. Newfeld, I'm a little slow.
oh yeah, well I don't blame you. This is difficult to follow.
We need to make sure we get it right, so the
Yeah.
overall number was 12,037,000, is that what you said?
Yeah, that's the top of my, I don't know how you've got it paged, but it's the spreadsheet. There's a row marked 1265 Lee. And
Just give me a moment, sir. Oh, on page 2 of your, gotcha.
is it page 2 it's marked? Okay.
Yeah, it's marked as 2 on your rebuttal. So, okay, so I see you've gone to a total of 12,037,002.
Correct. And you'll see that the changes from the assessment are marked in red.
Right, gotcha.
So it's just the two. One is depreciation schedule, the other is the lowest land value. Considering what, they're not going to build in an expensive area. And then the breakout is ignore the 158,415. That was just a number I stuck in for the formula laws, but the class 60 would be 2404,740, and the class 40 school exempt 9632,262.
Sorry, again. Guess I'm concentrating on something else. I missed the number, so would you please give me those?
Yeah, no problem. So class 60, or it might be 40T, I forget, 2404,740.
24.
It is 40T, by the way, 40T.
40T, okay, yeah. 2404,740, and then please round as appropriate. This was a discussion paper for Ryan that I'm forwarding, and then the 40 school was school exempt 9632,262, and again, please round.
Okay.
So it's not much of a difference, but this is the interpretation of the order. And personally, I would disagree with the land value. I mean, you look at the site; it's irregular, it's weird. You're not going to do anything with this land. It used to be part of the Nazarene College, and a First Nations group bought it and put up their own school and operate this personal care home. And just from a ethical point of view, I mean, this is a great home, and I'm so annoyed that our assessment system just penalizes the people who are doing something good for healthcare. It should be the other way around. There should be reverse assessments for the low quality homes. They should be higher than the high quality homes, but that's the way assessment works. Regardless, this is what the board ordered, and this is what we're going to live with.
All right. I think we have the numbers now, at least. Questions, Mr. Valderrama?
More like clarification or comment with regard to the land valuation and the depreciation. I just want to get your attention to page 22 of the same board order, municipal board.
Okay, go ahead.
And there is the 2014 reference date, 2016 reference date, and just above that, it indicate the sentence starts with the board notes that these values were all higher than the original land value assessments.
Which
the board
page are you at, sir?
Sorry, page 20, the one that says page 22 on the board order, municipal board order.
Okay.
Just 1, 2, 3 paragraphs or second full paragraph. It starts with the board notes. So if I may continue, the board. So this is just a clarification, Mr. Chair, or I can just throw this just so the board might have a better appreciation on the how the municipal board has decided on the land valuation. So the board notes that these values were all higher than the original land value assessments. The next sentence indicates that the board will use the original assessed land values as follows. So in that case, Mr. Chair, I just needed a clarification. If it indicates original assessed land values, wouldn't that constitute to the assessment of the department when it comes to the land valuation, Mr. Chair?
Well,
I mean, that's a
you're asking
question.
A question of Mr. Neufeld, certainly not of you.
Yes, Mr. Neufeld, that's just one question.
Well, the answer to the question is, you and I were both there, that the original values put in on the original assessment were lower. And for the appeal, the assessor chose to increase them and use multifamily sales. And the board simply said, you got it right the first time. on this. You used lower value sales and then you changed it to higher value sales. And if you want to put some numbers on this, I think the area that was in consideration indicated a rate of 400,000 an acre, or approximately, and I'm just going from memory, which is about $9 a square foot. So you put it all in perspective. In the first when the Board of Revision came up, and if I recall this right, and Ryan, go ahead and correct me, but you had 4 sales and you used the lowest one, and then when you went to municipal board, you used the average and you beefed it up. So they just said go back to the lowest one. That's what they said.
And
I
and
think.
that's if I may comment, Mr. Chair, on that note, when in doing these appeals, especially using the site-specific approach, I mean, the analysis would come to whoever's handling the property, Mr. Chair. According to my analysis at that time, Mr. Chair, that an increase in land valuation might be warranted based on sales. However, the board disagreed with me and just go back to the original land valuation, which means that whether it's produced by the well, it was produced by the department, and it is a model derived land valuation at that point, Mr. Chair. So in this case, using the same analogy, parallelism on this one, I would suggest that the land value would be confirmed, if that's how we should interpret this decision in terms of land valuation. And my second one would be on the depreciation, Mr. Chair. It was pointed out on page 19. Sorry, I'm just going back and forth on this decision, Mr. Chair. On page 19, Mr. Chair, if I may have, I would also like to quote the paragraph just above the chart, where it says reference date EYB, depreciation, years depreciation, area, and blended. I mean, Mr. Neufeld has alluded that we have a difference in depreciation rate that should be applied on this specific property, which is located on 1265 Lee. But the paragraph here indicates that the board will apply the assessor's depreciation methodology. So it's, to me, wouldn't that be clear that whatever depreciation rate has been produced in the report that I have, Mr. Chair, wouldn't that be a conclusive fact that it should be the assessor's depreciation methodology, and whatever depreciation rate results from that methodology should be applied, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
That's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No,
They're
no.
not rubber stamping your methodology. They're coming with a valuation type that they looked at it and they said 45-year life. Here's the lifespan. Here's the tables. We buy it for this property and we want to apply it. They do not validate your methodology.
On that note, Mr. Chair, I would just like to ask, the 45-year lifespan that was, Mr. Chair, was that based on the 710 building code or the previous building code that was used?
They based it on the evidence presented before them. They had already reached a decision on the cost. They realized your cost was not appropriate. Your cost, the assessment cost was not appropriate. They changed the cost. And then they looked at the depreciation and they applied it to the cost that they had already changed. They'd already agreed that had dropped from code A to code B in the National Building Code. Then they applied this rate. So they had the information in front of them. We spent a week there going over this, as they say, ad nauseum or whatever. It was a long process. So I don't agree with it either, but that's what they decided and that's what they've given us. And I don't think we can try to reframe it to anything that would support anybody else's argument. because why would we go back to them and re-argue something they've already decided on? The assessments aren't perfect, board decisions aren't perfect. We went in and we got a decision, and I don't like part of it, you don't like part of it, we live with it. And I'm not out, we're not trying to posture any sort of thing out of it. We just said, we agreed to this, the methodology, 45-year life, Marshall and Swift table, obviously, and the concept of lower land. I mean, you know, we don't want to redebate the whole thing there, but we brought them evidence of land sales where personal care homes said we're not going to buy land here. By the way, this particular sale was listed for this particular property, and I believe it went for $100,000 an acre when they bought the Nazarene College. So you know, we're not out to lunch here. They were trying to provide a rationale, and their rationale was simple. Read it. It says you can't afford to compete with apartment blocks who are going for land. You've got to find land that you don't have to compete that much for. You're going to find cheaper land because your business model can't afford it. We're not asking for anything strange or special. It's just an acknowledgement of this property type. This is what they have to get.
On that note, Mr. Chair, I am my questions are all done, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Lickletter, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Neufeld, I think you stated that you were on this property. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, of course. I've been there several times.
Okay. Mr. Valderrama, did you have, I'm going to, sorry, Mr. Chair, can I redirect to Mr. Valderrama?
Yeah, of course.
Mr. Valderrama, did you inspect this property at all?
No, I wasn't able to inspect the property in the interior, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And also, Mr. Valderrama, in regards, now I just have to go to your brief. On your page, on your page 5, your land sale comparables.
Mhm.
So you've got 4 comparables: St. Anne's Road, Beaver Hill Boulevard, St. Mary's. Comparable 4 is in the area of Peguis. Would you not say those areas are more desirable than Lee Boulevard?
In terms of desirability of the locations of the land sale comparables compared to the subject property, these are all residential areas, and I believe Lee Boulevard is in a residential area, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall it correctly.
Okay,
So
sorry,
basically, I think they're the same.
Okay, so Mr. Valderrama, have you been to Lee Boulevard?
Just by I just saw the street on my personal capacity, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so would you not agree that St. Anne's and St. Mary's are main thoroughfares through the city?
Yes, they are, Mr. Chair. I agree.
Okay, would you agree that Beaver Hill Boulevard is less than a block off a main thoroughfare?
Yes, I think so. I think I remember this one. Yes.
Okay. I thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you very much. I believe I'm going to need to take a quick recess of 10 minutes.
May I ask questions of the applicants for rebuttal, please?
Sorry,
Questions of the applicants rebuttal, please.
we'll come back to you when I've reparked my car, unfortunately.
Okay.
My apologies. Thank you again. We're back. Mr. Moretsky, I believe you are up for questions if you have.
Sure. I just have one here for Mr. Neufeld. You presented some numbers For us, for the board here, totals and for the school tax and taxable sections. But you've presented this as a rebuttal. So I'm just, my question to you is this a rebuttal or is this a presentation? Gotcha, presentation.
I would characterize it as a rebuttal. I would say, because what I'm trying to say is that the assessor made two errors in regard to the assessment department made two errors in regard to this valuation that failed to consider what the municipal board had ordered. And if they corrected those errors, then this would be the value. But I think the whole concept of rebuttal allows a restatement of value. I would think.
Yeah, but my counter to that argument is that the assessor actually hasn't had a chance to review that information.
Oh no, this was sent. Well, he hasn't had a lot of time, but I did send this to him 2 days ago and said this is what we think is wrong with it, and you'll note that the table I sent you is rather large, and we're only hearing one of them. So it means we discussed and reviewed and came to agreements on all of them except it turns out this one.
That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe you've now answered the question I was going to go after, so I think that's good for my side. Any final summation on this, Mr. Valderrama?
I don't have any submission, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Neufeld, any final thoughts, sir?
Yes, just a few. Firstly, I hope Ryan isn't offended by anything I said.
None taken.
Good, thank you. I got a little excited there, and he's been so good to deal with on this. We're both working hard to try to resolve it, and we've got some minor sticking points, and that's what these are, minor sticking points. The board, municipal board, doesn't set values. It doesn't determine what values are. What they do speak to is methodology, and you know, when you have people come in front of you and said, I got this case law that says my rent should be $14, or this one where my cap rate should be 6%, that's pure crap. The board doesn't decide that. But what they do speak to is methodology, and they gave us the methodologies here. Number one methodology, which isn't in contention anymore, is use the right costing. That was fixed. Number two, when you use the right costing, we like this way of depreciating here. Use this. This didn't happen, and that's why I want to correct it. Third methodology they brought is the personal care homes can't afford to compete with apartments on land. They will seek out cheaper land because they can't afford to, and they can seek out cheaper locations. And you have to take that into account. They will not compete for premium land, and so you can't use the comparables of premium land. And just for the record, remember, Lee Boulevard at this point is not in Waverly West. Lee Boulevard, affectionately known by the planning department as the Dog Patch, was first surveyed in 1910. And the development has really been quick over there. I mean, nothing has happened for years. And there were some spurts about 20 years ago. Servicing has always been the problem. It's not a premium location. As I said, my comment was from a former head of property and planning. Inside the department, they called it the Dog Patch, but because it's not a premium location. But aside from that, the whole concept of this is that they don't have the business model, and I'm really have to work hard not to. I'm not advocating anything here, but from a valuation point of view, there is something wrong with the cost model on personal care homes, because every home, this is the fundamental point, every home gets the same funding per bed. Every single one of them. It's a flat amount. Now, portions of the money come from the family, and if the family can't afford it, the government pays the rest, but it's still a flat amount. Why are we doing these in cost? Because all this does is provides greater profits for poor homes that have multiple accommodations, 3-4 beds per room, shared bathrooms. You have a place like this that comes along and you've got your private room and your private bathroom, they get penalized because the cost approach taxes them 10 times higher than the cheap sites. And as a result, why do we have a PCH shortage today? Because every time somebody builds something new, they get slapped with a big tax bill. It should be the other way around. They should be done on the income approach. Everybody gets treated the same, and there'll be more incentive for faith-based groups, nonprofit groups to get involved in the projects and take the lead and get these things happening. So it's a failure in our system. For one part of it, one small part of it, is a failure of the assessment system to deal with this. And as a result, I think they have to be held to a very, very high standard on their valuation on an inappropriate cost model. They have to live with the strictest interpretation in favor of the user on that, because this is wrong. Thank you. That's my presentation. I'm getting off my soapbox. And Mike, I'll see if I can reserve you a spot in one of these good homes.
Thank you, Mr. Neufeld. I appreciate the offer. Always interesting. So I believe we've heard all the items scheduled this afternoon. This hearing now is adjourned. So thank you very much from both of you, and I appreciate these submissions from both.
Thanks.
Thank you again, and your patience.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Valderrama and Mr.
Thank you.
Neufeld.
See you tomorrow, Ryan.